Looks like we're live now. First time scheduling a live YouTube stream, but I have done live a couple times, not scheduled, and I literally just scheduled this like 25 minutes ago. So I didn't have a chance to set it up perfect. I wanted to be able to do hotkeys and show you screens and go back and forth. But honestly, I'm in the middle of a new setup. I've got a PC coming in, but I have all kinds of weird wires everywhere all around me because I've been troubleshooting problems too. I've had HDMI connection problems. I had broken cables. I was trying to use these switchers to switch between 3 different computers, and I can't switch everything because I have my work computer that you can't plug things into the USB drive, so I can't switch hard drives that way. Anyways, it's been a mess. The last couple days have been a mess. I was hoping to get my new PC case and all that other stuff over the weekend, but I will wait till Tuesday and probably start putting it together then. I've never built a PC, but that's my plan. My plans were to do that over this weekend, but obviously that didn't happen. So here I am. I want to do more R tutorials, but I am in such a mess between like screens and cables, and my DSLR camera wasn't like connecting right to all the different computers that I have. I have an old HP from like 2012. It's not working very well. It's super loud. So I've been trying to put off any new recordings because of that mostly, and the fact that I didn't have a capture card. So all of the stuff that you've been seeing from this point on was usually through workarounds, band-aids. So yes, it's through a DSLR, which is nice, and I have a nice microphone, which also helps. But it's still a band-aid because I had to use all kinds of third-party software to get my Canon DSLR to output to the MacBook. And then I finally was switching over to a PC, and I had to use like beta software, webcam. It was just a mess. Anyways, that's the struggle, and that's part of the struggle of teaching is you have to deal with all of that stuff. I like to try to teach R in a manner that will keep the person engaged. I know that it can be boring at times. I like to keep my lessons pretty short to keep your focus as well. Change views and things like that. So I've been messing around with some of the live stream type software, like I'm using OBS, online broadcast system, I think it stands for. But all these shortcut keys to switch angles and switch views and zoom in on code, zoom back out on code, things like that. It really helps, I think, to keep the user engaged. But that being said, I have nothing for that today for this live stream. So, but I just wanted to talk about some of my background and my credentials to help you understand where I come from, and so that I don't mislead you into thinking that I'm some expert at any of this. I'm learning just like you guys are. So that being said, I did have quite a few computer science courses through college, and when I was in high school, I've also taken some computer science courses, but my main language was C++ programming. I loved it. I ate that up. I loved object-oriented programming. I never did it as a career, but I did it academically throughout high school and college quite a bit. Advanced C++, I was creating like little Windows GUI interfaces from base C++, the Microsoft Foundation classes and the Win32 API, things like that. I've learned a lot about programming, and it helped me a lot in my career. Now, I have a unique story, I suppose, where I never actually did program for a living. It's not my career, but I did troubleshoot electronics, and I had to troubleshoot, all these different circuit boards for the Air Force, things like that. And you have to get into the code and dabble with it a little bit to reset up all these relays and check the voltage here, apply voltages there, things like that. So I do have some experience in the real world doing real world work when it comes to electronics and engineering, sort of. I don't want to oversell it because it was just Swaptronics. But I did dabble, and I've always dabbled in some sort of web programming, but never long enough to really get to be an expert at any of it. I would try it, I would learn it, I would make it work, and then I would stop. And the reason why is because it's not my job, and it's really hard to find the time outside of your 8 or 9 hours a day that you're at your work, your travel time, to come home and learn something that is pretty fun. I think I enjoy it. But hey, how's it going? I see you online. It's good to see somebody on here. This is new. I've gone live like maybe once or twice, but I never actually promoted it beforehand. And this time I did, like literally 20 minutes before. Oh, I got the Discord going over here. We got people asking for pizza. I like it. Let's see. Let me see if I can log in to Discord. I'm new to Discord as well, just so you know. But I've been using it for another server for trying to talk to people around the world, which is pretty cool. So I've gained lots of people from Belgium. We've got people from Colombia, Serbia, obviously the United States quite a bit. It's pretty fun. So I learned that Discord was a really good place for a community. Now, I don't really game, which I might change that because I'm building this really badass PC. So I might get into gaming. I've never done it before. I'll probably be pretty bad at it, but I might give it a shot, in all that spare time that I have. But yeah, back to, teaching R is fun. I enjoy teaching. When you know the subject, it's so easy to do. When you don't know it, it does take some time and it's a little bit of a hassle. Like I've taught, my first course that I actually taught like pretty legit was C++ programming, because that was my academic level. I mean, I did C++ in high school and college. I did advanced C++. But again, I never did it in industry. I never did it in the real world. But still learned all the concepts and a lot of computer science concepts, so it really helps. So R is unique that it's definitely geared towards data scientists and it's geared towards statisticians and not as much as programming. But all of those things are mixing together. They are overlapping. If you can't be an engineer now without knowing programming at all, you have to know some sort of programming. But R was unique coming from C++ because just the littlest things like not using a for loop was difficult to grasp. In R, you're thinking about everything as a matrix, as a column of numbers or a column of data, and you're going to apply functions to each row of that column or to, something like that But anyways, I learned R mostly through a course I took in college called, I think it was called Machine Learning and Data Mining. And it was an advanced master's level course. And it was really fun. I learned a lot about all the different types of classifications. Like you have linear discriminant analysis, you have your KNN, K nearest neighbors you might have heard of, logistic regression, you have just all kinds of things, quadratic analysis, logistic regression, different sampling methods, how to train your data, the various ways you can train your data, the leave one out, cross-validation. Let me think. So a lot of it was literally just learn it, do a few problems, go on to the next one, learn it, and then as you need them, you would use them. It's really interesting, though, because computers are so powerful now. You can try every combination of variables to try to get the best predicted, model or best model that can do the predictions. So I'm not a statistician and I'm not a programmer. I am none of those things, but I do enjoy it as a layman. I don't dabble that often, so I will read up on some subject and then try to teach it. I have kind of been known to be able to teach complex subjects to the layman, I suppose. Even at work, that is my, people say you're really good at explaining like the big picture or why, the reasoning behind things. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about here in this little platform, just to give somebody some perspective on what I do. Now, mostly I manage and, I'm kind of like a program manager for a lot of IT related projects. So I don't actually run the day-to-day activities for all of these projects, but some of them I do. So there's about 10 projects that I manage, and they're all IT related or data related. So I learn a lot about data governance, database management, all of those things. There's one project that has to do with ATA, Advanced Text Analytics, and that one's pretty fun. I allow the SMEs, the subject matter experts, to come in and kind of try to run the show, right? But I'm the overarching manager of the entire program. So all these 10 projects have to come back, and basically all of them have to gear towards the mission of our organization. And if it doesn't, then I have to explain why not. So that's what I do. I manage a lot of contractors in all these little various projects. Now, the advanced text analytics, I have to ask them why. Why are we doing this? What's the purpose, right? So we take lots and lots of information, and we don't know what it is. There's no metadata. There's no data that tells you what the data is. Data about data is metadata, right? And so what a lot of the subject matter experts will start talking jargon. They'll start talking some advanced, vector manipulation for trying to get a closer proximity of two words being likely of being associated, or whatever the heck it is. I can't think of all the terms now, but that doesn't help the cause for the business side. So how do I explain that to the leadership, to the decision makers, the people with the purse, right? The money strings. So I have to always try to translate what's going on in the data sciencey world and the IT world, translate that to a business outcome and say, this is why your reviewers are struggling to find information. So I'm trying to have a information retrieval algorithm that works better than what's out there. And now, am I doing the coding? No, the contractors are, but I'm managing the overall progress of the projects. They're using Python, by the way, for the most part, and a lot of Java, C#. It's all over the place. Now, R is good for research and quick data, but it really hasn't really entered the production realm as far as I know. I did a little bit of R Shiny, and we have some R Shiny pilot programs going on, but really nothing the equivalent to something in a production environment. We don't have that. But so that's basically me. Is I manage people that are interested in data science, and because they're interested, it's a very interesting job. So I get to see the results of what a lot of hard workers do, and I get to steer their direction towards the mission objectives. And knowing, how much something takes to code, or knowing that the code is working or not, understanding when somebody tells me, the underlying algorithms or what a neural network is, understanding what all that is without actually programming it or coding it myself is crucial for my job, because I have to hire these people and I have to keep an eye on them as far as, are they going in the right direction, right? So eventually with this channel, I know I'm kind of all over the place, but we are going to get into like decision trees. We're going to get into machine learning. We're going to do neural networks. We're going to do classifications, supervised and unsupervised learning. Those are all coming up, and I hope that once I get my new PC, I hope that I can do it a lot faster than I am. See, let me check the audio. I wonder if the audio even works. We don't know. Oh. So I think we have a few people maybe in this chat, at least one. It's not easy going live unplanned, but again, I've got everything everywhere all over my desk from troubleshooting that I gave up on trying to do an R lesson today. But yeah, another thing is support vector machines. We'll do some basic neural networks. Those are really cool. One thing to note about neural networks is a lot of people will say, like, here's a misconception. They say it's a black box, and it is. Like, it's a black box, because imagine you have something like 500, 600 variables going across the columns. You have 500 features, and you've got a million rows of data, and you're going to try to train this data. You're going to run a model on the data, on a part of the data. So when you get into actually training the data, you train part of the data and you save a set aside to test out your model to see if it's good. Because how else would you do that without the future actually coming, So if you have data that's a million rows, you would want to maybe take 700,000 rows, run your algorithms, your models on those, train it. And then once it's done being trained, You would then take the rest of the data, the 30%, or sometimes people will split that up into they call it a training set, test set, and a validation set, something like that, right? But you can really just cut it into two for now, training and validation / test. Yeah, deep learning, it's so fun. As soon as we get into it, it's going to be a little bit quicker, faster pace. It'll definitely be nice to have some of the principles of why they work ahead of time. I hope that I can portray that pretty quick and then jump into machine learning, because the machine learning is where it's at. That's what everybody wants to learn. That's the fun stuff. Now I don't know how to do advanced machine learning. I know how to do the basics. In R, how to get them started. But you can get some pretty advanced machine learning going on with like TensorFlow or PyTorch or just advanced features that use like the GPU versus the CPU. I'm not an expert at any of it, but I will definitely teach the basics of all of them so that you can move forward with it and try to explore your own. There was a really good podcast by OCD Machine. In fact, I'll get a link and I'll throw it in the chat, that I learned a lot. Like, you will learn basically all of the lingo and what's going on just by listening to the podcast. And it's pretty technical, but it's definitely, you don't need a visualization for it. And I actually almost never supported like many people's Patreons or whatnot, but I supported this guy's because it was so good. I'll give you the link here. It's the Machine Learning Guide. Oh yeah, I think. Actually, I will throw it in Discord because I'm actually on 2 different computers, and then I'll maybe multitask and throw it in this chat as well. Let me find it up here. It's OCDEVEL, Machine Learning. And it was cool because I was following him while he was building these podcasts. And then, he ended up getting a job, and he talks about his job and how much money you can make as a data scientist, things like that. It was really good. Sorry, I'm looking way up because I have a weird setup right now. It's extremely weird. But if you like podcasts, this is the de facto, like the best podcast that it's kind of for laymen, but not really. I mean, it's technical in nature, but I think anybody that has basic math background can follow along. It definitely gets math intensive, like a lot of differential equations. He doesn't talk about we're going to make the computer do all the work, so it's not like you have to know how to do all these things. You just have to know kind of what it means by doing this, right? So that's all I'm saying about that. So yeah, so this is me in a nutshell. I went through college mostly as a computer science major, then I switched to electrical engineering, and then I ended up getting some management degree, got an MBA degree. I have a business master's. I always worked in some sort of technical field, but never quite like pure engineering or pure computer programming. It was always just a mixed bag. And jumping over to the corporate side, the white collar side of things, I enjoy the fact that I manage the people that are technical. And somehow I got very lucky to kind of skip being the expert in some technical field and working my way up. Normally what you'll see is, the technical folks that are in the industry for a long time, they're programming, they're doing really well, and they're listening to the PM, the project manager, or the product owner nowadays, whatever it is, and they strive to become that. They want to like run the whole team, right? Somehow I skipped that part, and now I'm sort of running the show. And it's because I know the jargon, I know the lingo, I know what the stuff means, I know how to manage people and lead projects, because you have to talk to the business side, the business stakeholders, and the technical guys. And trust me, I'm sure all of you guys know this too. Sometimes it's like talking Greek, I guess, or whatever the language is of choice. It is hard. But that's what I do, and I love it. It's fantastic. So I get to steer and create contracts out of thin air that says, hey, I want to make my organization better by doing some advanced text analytics, right? So I can actually write the contract. Basically, I'm not a contracting officer. I'm not anything like that. But I do have a really high stake in writing those contracts. But it has to fit a business need always, and that's crucial. You see a lot of people kind of steering away. Don't get me wrong. In academia, you can go any direction you want, but if you're actually trying to work for a business, everything costs money, takes resources, takes time, and then you have to convey this message to all of the people on the team. You have to convey it to all the leadership, all of your organization. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking, is talking Greek like politically correct? I don't know. Thanks for your comments, everyone. Hey, and you know what else too? I will say this. A long time ago, I created these C++ courses, which I think maybe some of you might have seen it. But these courses, I created about 25, 30 of them, and they all went in a row. So if you want to learn C++, they're out there as well. I'll give you some tips on how to teach and make a little bit of money online if you're interested as well. I don't make money off of this channel, the art channel. I think you guys know that as well. But let's see, I'm kind of all over the place now. Oh, C++. So I started getting these comments, right? And I would teach a subject, and then people would just give me these amazing comments, and I'm like, that's motivation to keep going. It's amazing when you actually solve someone's problem. Like, you're not just rambling about crap that doesn't mean anything. It's straight up, you solved somebody's issue and problem. They love it. And I do the same thing. When I'm on YouTube and I find something that's worthy, I'm like, oh, finally someone fixed my problem. Oh yeah, is David Robinson? He's the one that does the Tidy Tuesdays, or the. See, we got Wallid talking about David Robinson. I think he does the Tidy Tuesdays, which is awesome. He goes so fast. Whenever I watch him, and I used to, I would put him on like 1/4 the speed or something to try to keep up. It's awesome. Another good resource is any of the Kaggle sites, which I should probably run people through how to like clone the Kaggle repositories in R. A lot of this stuff I don't know until I check it out too. I might have done some of this in the past, but it's been so long I have to catch up. But that's why I wanted to actually be real with everybody too, is let them know that, hey, as I learn it, I'm going to teach you, right? I've done a lot of this in my master's course, like I said, but it's been so long I have to relearn it, and it's kind of fun to do. Yeah, David Robinson is pretty cool to follow. It's always good to find good communities. Yep. Yeah, that guy is so fast, though. I find that hilarious. Let's see, what else? Work-wise, since I'm not I don't actually do R. Now, there's some people at my work that run some visualizations, and they do some R programming. I actually use it mostly for data manipulation, or mostly just to move stuff around on my own PC. Like, for example, I might have a rule in Microsoft Outlook that says if this particular email comes in, strip out the attachments and do this and do that. Instead of using the Outlook rules, I actually created some R that will go in there and do it for me and sort them. Or if you have to basically append 25 CSV files together, I would just do that with R rather than try to do it manually. Things like that. I do that all the time. Even unzipping files. I think I just did an R video on that if you have a directory full of zip files, how do you unzip them? So I like to use that. I call that R for like practical uses, and I think that's super handy. One of my most successful R tutorials is the one where I scrape Twitter. I think that's the one that everyone's like, wow, this is great. It's fantastic. So if you haven't seen that one, you have to check that out. It's, I guess pretty good, because it gets to like, you get to do a lot of things in a short period of time, and it feels real. You're using real data, not the empty cars. And I kind of feel bad I'm not using like a practical approach to this so much for the absolute beginner's guide that I'm kind of building up. I kind of feel bad I'm not doing something that's like, worthy of, like, nobody wants to use fake data, even though it's not fake data, but you want to use some relevant data. I did some COVID-19 stuff as well. I think it was a little controversial. I tried to put it on Skillshare. They did not like that. They weren't having it. I was like, but it's not medical related, it's data. And they were not having it. So I was kind of bummed out about that, because I put some effort into that one. I think all of my stuff's on YouTube, by the way. So literally everything. But I do. So here's what you do. Here's what I'm trying to do, and I'm not very disciplined at it yet. As you can tell, I don't post as often as I should. But you create these like 7-10 minute segments in R, right? And you kind of make them back to back where, they're in sequence. You have to kind of follow the whole sequence. Put that on YouTube. Then you take all that, you bring it back, and you edit it so that it's like just one continuous long stream, maybe 30 minutes instead of, 7-minute segments. Then you throw that onto Skillshare or Udemy, and you could say, this is a course. Now, there's nothing that prevents anybody from finding me on YouTube and doing it for free, but there's so many people that just want that structured course layout and they pay for it. I don't get many because I'm honestly not trying that hard yet on there, but Skillshare has been promising. If anybody knows any bit of programming, Skillshare is pretty good. When I say that, I literally have like a couple of recycled courses that I took from my YouTube, re-edited it slightly, threw it on Skillshare, and I make like $30 a month on Skillshare. Never touch it, never do anything with it. Yeah, I call it deplier. I don't know what they really call it, but deplier reminds me of a pair of pliers. Yeah, all of the tidyverse, anything tidy is definitely the way to go for me. I'm not the base R type at all, 0%. I'd rather just get it done. If I want to worry about efficiencies, I'll let the C++ or whoever's going to convert this research-based R to some model that you're going to deploy in Java or something, right? I'll let the others handle that. But you do have to start thinking about, as you get into the machine learning, you definitely have to think about every calculation because you're doing that calculation millions of times, and that it adds up. It adds up greatly. Oh yeah, the misconception about the neural networks and the black boxes. I forgot to answer that. Not a misconception, but people always say it's a black box. You don't know how that answer was there. So I used to have a boss that he'd be pissed that I can't just use normal statistics to come up with the answer. And I'd say, no, I used machine learning algorithm, right? And it predicts. And the models show that it predicts at a 82% accuracy, right? Something like that. And he would say, yeah, but how did you get there? I'm like, it doesn't matter. In a sense, it's a black box, as in it doesn't matter how I got there because the results speak for themselves. You check the result. If it's accurate, it's accurate. If it's not, it's not. How it's accurate, I don't know, right? But can you go in there and actually check every 0 and 1 in that machine and figure out what it's doing? Sure, you could. It could be hundreds of thousands of variables, so no one would ever write that down, right? But you technically could look at it and say, this is what the computer's doing, this is what the model's made out of. But what you don't get, because you're on different hardware, you're on different systems, you have slightly different code, you have a different package version, all of these things, you can't recreate it 100% the same way twice if you use multiple hardwares or systems or whatever, right? Or random seeds, whatever you did. So that's why it's kind of a black box, is you just, you can recreate models, but to a point, there's subtle differences that'll cause your accuracies will be still high, possibly, but it could be a very different looking model if you looked at all the zeros and ones, basically, is what I'm saying. Oh, that's great. Oh, you guys are hilarious because I'm thinking, man, I stumbled through that COVID one. And then here's the thing about that COVID analysis. Every time I went to go grab the data, they would change it from a CSV to an XLSX to an XLS. I'm like, can they make up their mind? And then finally, I think after like 4 little sequences, I finally put it together saying, hey, look, no, actually, they came out with an R API that you can use. I was pretty stoked about that. Yeah, I agree. Like, for the most part, I agree that most paid courses are you can learn any bits and piece online for sure. Absolutely. Sometimes people do like that structured deal. That's great. But yeah, everything is on. There's so much online. It's really hard to justify paying for anything. At my work, they would say, oh, back at my old job, they would say, oh, we can get a subscription to this or that or that. I'm like, I just Google it. Like, what do you mean? I don't need that. Just Google it. Why would you waste that money? Stack Overflow is your friend, like, for sure. I love Stack Overflow. quickly scroll to like the highest rated comment or whatever, read that before I even read the question. I don't even read the question half the time. I just go to the answer. I don't know if you guys do that too, but just go straight to the first comment that's highest upvoted. If you want some good practice or good fun on Stack Overflow, just type in the letter R and then sort it by like most upvotes. And one of them is how to reproduce your code. There's a lot of ways to reproduce your code, and we need to talk about that in this tutorial as well. But it's kind of a pain because building data frames from scratch can sometimes take a long time. So there's a way to use a function called dput, D-P-U-T, that'll actually output a portion of your data frame as something that somebody can copy and paste, and it becomes a new data frame. I'll show you. I'll do a tutorial on that because it's super useful for Stack Overflow. And if you screw up Stack Overflow, you start posting bad stuff on there, you're just going to get a bad reputation. So you got to really be careful with Stack Overflow. But I do love it. Yeah. And I decided to drink Coca-Cola today. I've been doing good until today. So yeah, I have a MacBook, I have a PC that's old, and I have a work computer. So I have to struggle to switch my monitors between all three PC or the two PCs and the Mac. And I love the Mac, but honestly, streaming on the Mac with a DSLR was complicated because I was using third-party software. If anybody has a Mac, I was using it was called CamTwist and Camera Live. Both great programs, but it does tax your computer pretty much. Makes it loud and a little choppy. But I just got a capture card literally yesterday. So that's what you're seeing today is my capture card. And I must say, if you're trying to stream online, if you want the good quality video and have a DSLR, I would totally recommend getting a capture card. If you buy one for about $130, I know for some people that could be way too much, but for me, it was fine. But the one thing that you want to do is make sure your quality of your audio is good. I hated when my fan was running so loud and I had to edit my audio for you guys. I had to put like this noise remover on there and it distorted my audio a little bit. Still better than most though. Audio is probably much better than good video. But screen capturing is easy enough. Anybody with OBS, which is free, online broadcast system, anybody with OBS can stream or capture their own screens. So I recommend it. Try it out. Start a channel if you want to even teach in R like I'm doing. You know, just start out. If you teach it, you learn more about it. So there's that. With my channel, the R channel, what I hope that you guys find useful is the fact that it's just R. There's nothing else on there, right? Except for this occasional thing. It's literally just R, so you can't get lost in the weeds. You stay on that channel, you're going to stay on R. One thing I want to add, and I'm going to add soon, is I'm going to start interviewing people that actually use R in industry. So I'm going to reach out and have like a 25-minute interview with them talking about how they got to where they are in their careers, how much R they actually use, things like that, some lessons learned. So that's coming up. I'll have a whole playlist on just that. I've got maybe 4 people lined up so far, but still haven't actually done the interviews. So, but I think that'll be really fun. A lot of people want the real world answer to what's going to happen if you actually learn this stuff. How valuable are you? I wish I knew all the answers to that, but I don't. So that's why I'm going to start interviewing other people that actually do this. I try to stay up to date with all this stuff, but it's definitely difficult when your everyday job is not R or data science. Some people would call me or others that aren't, getting our PhD in this stuff, citizen data scientists. That's the buzzword around the Gartner conferences and these big data analytics conferences. Is they try to sell it to you as, hey, anybody can be a data scientist. You can use Tableau, you can use whatever. I barely do anything with data at work. Like I said, I just manipulate, move files around, things like that. Sometimes I'll append multiple Excel files. Like one handy thing I had to do recently was, well, not too recently, but I had maybe 20 Excel files with each of them had like 15 tabs. I needed all the tabs to be appended to each other so I can look at it that way. So I just did that with R. There's like an XLSX package or something. There's a package for everything. I love using the R packages when they are available. Makes things a lot easier. But again, when we get into the actual hardcore, more machine learning, every little calculation counts. So we'll have to be careful what we use. Like C++, I remember I think we had 32-bit computers. So one integer would be 32 bits. So one integer would take up 32. So one number, the number 7, would take up 32 bits on that in the RAM, right? So those 32 bits, I was actually in C++ cutting that into pieces, 8, 16, 24, 32. I would stick 4 pieces of data in that one integer slot, and then I would use calculations to calculate what I was storing later. Now it takes up CPU cycles, but it doesn't take up much space. So if to store 4, it would be 32 times 4. But I stored 4 numbers within that same integer value. And the same thing goes for a 64-bit machine. One integer, the number 7, takes up 64 little bits. But in today's times, none of that actually matters. Storage is cheap and it's abundant. But it is pretty funny that, I went from thinking about that to, load all the packages you want. The computer can handle it. So it's good stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to give people a little insight on what I do on the side. I stream. I try to teach how I do this. I have another channel. It's just under my name, so you can find it. It's Mark Gingras. And that channel, I actually teach more about how to use Final Cut Pro to edit these videos. How do I make my R videos? How do I get the audio better? How do you stream? So I'm just starting to build up something there. And that one is monetized, by the way. So let's see. Zaki says, my professor in the U.S. uses R and machine learning for analyzing geographical data. I would love to connect him with you. Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. Building a community like that where I can interview someone that uses it, that'd be fantastic. I'd appreciate that. Definitely. I do have I literally just started it yesterday, so it's going to be pretty thin, but I do have a Discord. I think I pasted it in there. Let me see if I could do it again. And we could start talking in there a little bit more actively, and we could be very open about what we talk about. It doesn't matter. I don't hold anything back, by the way. Let's see. Like, especially money and all that stuff. If you guys want to know about how much money my channels make, that's totally fine. Let me see if I can catch up here. Switching to Python. Oh yeah. Well, in RStudio, I don't know if you've tried it. You can actually run some Python through RStudio, which is kind of nice. You know how when you do your chunks of data in a Markdown file, you do the R chunk, you can do a Python chunk, and it'll grab your Python interpreter and run the Python code. It's kind of cool. There's a package called Reticulate. I don't use it, but RETICUL, Reticulate. There's a package called Reticulate that you might be interested in if you do Python. I've learned Python a little bit, and then I stopped. Then I learned it a little bit, then I stopped. I did try to do some TensorFlow with Python as well. I heard TensorFlow was going out was actually not the de facto standard that people wanted to follow anymore. I heard PyTorch was taking over. Yeah, I would love to do the interviews with anybody you know. That'd be great. Or even anybody learning. I think if we can just structure the videos and the interview to be value added where, we just stay on topic, I think that would work. I think people generally don't know what's next in life without having to know, knowing somebody. How do you know somebody that's in the field without, Oh, wow. Geospatial data. The only thing I've done with R was create some density plots in the US. I took some FDA data for tobacco products. All of the enforcement actions are public data. So if a kid was going to buy a cigarette at a retailer, I could get the I could get the address of that retailer and like what was the infraction, right? So it was like sold to a minor, sold to a minor. What I was doing was I would take that address and I'd plug it into the Census Bureau API. They have an API where you can send an address and it gives you back coordinates. And I would use those coordinates to create a heat map of where all the infractions were in the U.S. It was pretty cool. And that was, I forget what it was, Plotly maybe, I forget. But that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. I'd love to learn more geospatial things in R. And I love the fact that R is pretty dynamic, where you can interact with the graphs a lot more than you used to be able to. Did you guys all notice that R went up to 4.0? So if you want to upgrade your R, you can get R 4.0. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing yet. I haven't run into problems yet, but again, I'm just kind of dabbling here and there. Absolutely. But I try to stay current with it all. If it breaks, it breaks. I'll just revert back. You can also have multiple versions of R. I don't know if you've noticed that, but in your settings, you can just click on the R version you want. So if you have 4.0, you can downgrade back to 3.6, whatever you want to do. But your libraries or your packages usually have to be basically in that 4.0 folder to work under R 4.0. So you might have to re-download a bunch of packages. Not a big deal usually. Yeah, well, this was fun. I've been on for about 40 minutes. Still, I'm just glad that with only like a 10-minute lead time, people actually showed up to this chat. I've never done this before where there was people chatting. This is great. I love the interaction. I definitely want to get your ideas, and I will start building up this Discord and taking it more serious, and maybe we can connect. I think it was Zaki that said he has the professor that I can connect with. Yeah, hopefully we can find each other after this and make it happen. Let's do it. The hard part, though, is trying to figure out how to record somebody on the other end in high quality and have it all synced up. I think I'm good at it now, but every day it's a new struggle. It's funny. Like, I do it with my friends, and it's just like, what else can break? Like, how many things can break? The very first couple I've done, it was me and a buddy, and he was in Chicago. I'm in Washington, D.C. The very first one, we just recorded our own self, and then we sent each other the footage to sync it up. And that worked pretty good, but you can't really ask anybody to do that. So, but there are ways. There's tons of ways. But yeah, the geospatial stuff is cool. I know in the U.S., the Census Bureau has an API you can call up to like 1,000 addresses per whatever time frame, and it'll give you back all of the coordinates. I'm kind of all over the place. I'm reading comments and then just answering them. Again, I have the weirdest setup right now, and it's driving me nuts. So the rest of the day, I think I'm going to try to clean up some of these wires. I have a really good desk setup video, by the way. I think you guys will like my desk. I'm not going to lie. But it doesn't look like the video anymore because things are scattered everywhere. It's nuts. But if you're interested in my other channel, by the way, on how to make videos, I'll send you that link right now. Why not? Since I'm here. And I was talking to my friends about like, what do people think about you? Oh wait, what do people get wrong about you, right? Something like that. We're doing like some weird quarantine thing. And one of the things I said was, I think that people don't think I'm funny until they get to know me. Then they think I'm really funny. And every one of my friends were like, no, you're not funny. I'm like, damn, that's messed up. That's pretty funny. I thought I was. I thought I had some good jokes here and there, but I guess not. So yeah, check out that Reticulate package in R Studio. And there's so many good Python tutorials out there too. Oh, that's great. Hey, I'm glad that you guys like this. I'll definitely do it again. And I'll see if I can bring a guest on this as well, because I've been learning a lot about streaming, and how to do that. Of course, with my new PC, I should be able to do it better, but I've learned how to use OBS, where OBS itself it looks like a webcam. So that's pretty awesome. So everything should work out. I will do this again for sure, and I'll bring some people on, and hopefully I'm going to crank out some more R videos like that are relevant and make them more practical with real data. Let's start doing that. I appreciate you guys coming on here and sharing and spreading the word. And every time I did ask, I feel like I get new subscribers all the time. Not that often, but I will be monetized one day with this R channel, probably maybe 3 months from now, if it picks up a little bit more. My goal would be like 3 months from now. And monetizing will get me, so the channel that I just posted on there, I'm only making like anywhere from 30 to 55 per month on that channel. I don't put much effort into it. So I figure that if this channel gets monetized, I'll probably make another $40, $50 a month on this too. So it's all going to add up. Yeah, Jupyter notebooks are good. I need to jump on the Python bandwagon, but man, there's only so much time. It's great. I love Python because every single industry uses it. There's no doubt about it. Like, if you talk to them about what they're mostly coding in, it's like Python. Nobody's going to say R. R is good for like research, statistical analysis, college. But yeah, I think a lot of people are still on Python. Although R is getting better and it's growing. I'll be curious to see what happens in like 4 or 5 years. I haven't dabbled with anything else like Go, the Go language. I haven't touched that. I don't know what else is even out there right now. But all right, guys, I appreciate it, and we will do this again for sure. I like the fact that I had people on here, and I'll actually advertise it much sooner next time and come up with a good topic and maybe a guest. So, all right. And if you haven't joined the Discord, even though it's going to be pretty slow at first, it'd be nice to start building a community with you guys in it to help. And I will see you guys next time.